Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of All Sports Now. This is episode number 34. We had to push it back a day because of scheduling conflicts, but we are continuously posting every single week to make sure all of you get amazing content, some good hot takes, and some comical commentary from me and Chris here as well. Before me and Chris get going, make sure you follow our socials at all.sportsnow on Instagram, at allsportsnowpod on Twitter, and All Sports Now, 3 separate words, on YouTube. We just had a 100 subscriber special go up, promoted the crap out of it, and it's getting a ton of views right now. I raced Jalen Grant, the fastest D3 runner, and that is true. He ran a 10.44 last year, which was the fastest D3 time for the 100-meter dash in the entire nation. I raced him, and that went how you would imagine it would go. And then I got a 20-meter head start, and that also went how you would imagine it would go. But if you want to see that, and if you want to see how cool of a guy he is, it's a quick 5-minute video on the YouTube. I suggest you check it out. Share it with your friends. The channel is growing a lot. We're trying to get monetized. We're trying to grow as much as a family. So if you can help us grow, I think that this channel has a lot of potential, and we'll continue to put out some really cool content for you guys. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or follow us on Spotify. And we are officially partnered with, as we have been, the Toast on Rye podcast. They post nearly every week or every other week on YouTube. Just look up Toast on Rye. They're growing a ton, almost up 2,000 subscribers. Follow them on Instagram, all podcast platforms. I was on there a couple weeks ago. Really good content from our guy, Ryan, who's editing this episode right now. A shout out to you, Ryan. But nonetheless, today, me and Chris Smith will be talking about the biggest hip check heard around the world. I guess that's how you'd say it. The hip check heard around the world, kind of ripping off a quote from like 200, 300 years ago. And then a drag and drop segment that we always do for NFL fantasy football, some NFL MVP early predictions, and much more right here on All Sports Now. Hello and welcome back to episode number 34 of the All Sports Now podcast. Before me and Chris get going, as per usual, here's a few general sports updates. These are all going to be in football because football is in swing right now, and we'll talk about basketball later as well. Lions tied to remain winless after 10 weeks, so they couldn't end their winless season correctly either. I mean, not lost full, or they haven't lost all of their games now, but they're still winless. Very weird situation. 48-yard miss by Ryan Santoso in overtime, and then a fumble by Pat Freiermuth in field goal range with a few seconds left in the game. And then the Lions tried to do a few laterals and got pushed out of bounds. So the Lions tied. They always seem to find a way to tie, but this is a really weird one because it could go 0-16 again. They could go 0-16-1. Maybe that's what they're trying to do. I don't know. Chase Young of the Washington football team is also out for the year with an ACL tear. It was just announced this morning, so they'll be going through it. Montez Sweat's going to have to carry the brunt of the workload with that already struggling Washington defense that had him up to this point. And Packers running back Aaron Jones will be out multiple weeks with an MCL injury. Get A.J. Dillon in fantasy. I didn't put that in here. Chris doesn't have him in here, but get A.J. Dillon. That should be common sense. Anybody waived him for any reason, which I don't know why anyone would, grab him the second Wednesday morning comes around. If not, get him off waivers or get him off the free agent wire right now because A.J. Dillon is going to be doing ton for this team. He just got a pair of touchdowns. That's my plead there. The Packers won 17-0 and shut out the Seahawks. With that, lots of stuff to cover. Welcome on, Chris. Thanks for coming on again.
Hello. I just wanna say that a few weeks ago when we did the worst teams in the NFL, and I picked the Lions, and I was kind of thinking about it like afterwards, and I was like, a lot of people have been saying that the Lions are the best. The time. I think they were 0-5, 0-4, 0-4 team in the history of NFL. But after this week, I can certify that they are the worst team in the league, that they did not want to win that game, that was quite possibly the worst game of football I've ever seen in my life. Even Pittsburgh, too. Like Pittsburgh didn't get any slack either. I know Big Ben was injured, but 2 fumbles. You had the chance at the end, and then you fumble at the end, too. You're in field goal range, and you fumble in the last possession. That was just brutal. Classic Lions loss, but maybe they're in the philosophy that it takes a tie and then they get a win. So they didn't lose this week. Yep, then they're going to win next week. I'm calling them win next week.
Who do they play next week? Oh, gosh. I'm curious now.
Play the Bears in 2 weeks, I believe. So
that
scary.
Might be a win.
Yeah, that's scary.
Bears are just doing amazing things right now. Lions next week, they play the Browns. Why could I see that?
Ooh,
we'll have to see. I mean, without OBJ, by the way, Stafford has 2 picks now.
Oh, wow.
So for those listening, my dumb self started Stafford and the opposing defense. So no matter what happens, it basically cancels out unless like we run the ball a ton and then he throws it to the running back, but he also gets sacked a ton because if a quarterback gets sacked, they don't lose points. I don't know. The 49ers are up 14-0 after I just had a conversation with Ty about how the Rams are supposed to be legit.
Oh yeah.
So,
Just talking about how Stafford could be elite and now he could lead them, and he's out here doing this.
He's out here right now. He's doing his best. Mark Sanchez, Mike White, insert Jets quarter, Zach Wilson. Just insert any Jets quarterback name, and that's what he's doing right now. Yeah, I don't get it. Okay, well, first thing that me and Chris are going to talk about is how the NFL refs seem to like to insert themselves into games at very important points. We're both Bears fans, so we're going to try and keep this like really objective. It's probably not going to happen. So you can skip through this if you're a big fan of ranting. What did you see? So, I mean, everybody knows it pretty much. What's his name? Marsh. He's a guy off the practice squad. Goes off the edge. Or actually comes up the middle. Pocket collapses. Sacks Big Ben. Bears are supposed to force a punt. Instead, he gets called for taunting. He did a little karate kick thing, stared down the sideline from about 20, 30 yards away. On his way jogging back, is hip checked by the ref, and while the ref is hip checking him, pulls the flag out simultaneously and tosses it for taunting. And then Steelers get a field goal. Bears drive down the field, get a touchdown. Steelers get a game-winning field goal. That wouldn't have been a game-winning field goal if they had to punt on that one drive, but that's hypothetical. Lots could have changed after. What was your initial reaction? I guess I'll start with that. When you saw a flag fly for unnecessary roughness, and then you see the replay of it was Tony something. I don't remember his full name. His name has been like haunting me at night. But what was your initial reaction when you saw it?
Yeah, so I was actually watching the whole game, and I was really angry at that point because I believe that was like later in the game, and that was after Justin Fields had just scored. So they were trying to stop him, I believe. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but
I think, he had the touchdown to Mooney. Yeah.
Yeah. And so throughout the whole game, there were many missed calls, the roughing the passer that wasn't called. And then the roughing the passer that was called for Big Ben. You saw the play where he got hit. He took 2 steps and then hit him after the ball was thrown. But with the Ben Roethlisberger case, he was almost still in the process of throwing the ball and he got hit and they called it roughing the passer. So I was really angry at that point. And, saw that play, and at first I thought that they gave him the flag for the karate kick he did, but no flag was thrown until he did his little apparent staring, which I didn't see. I saw him just looking in the general direction, not really staring or taunting at all. And then I saw the hip, and he didn't throw the flag in that instance. He didn't throw the flag until he backed up and hit Marsh, and then throw the flag. I don't know. I'm not one to, of conspiracy theories, but I thought the game was totally rigged. I mean, I'm a Bears fan, obviously, but that was quite possibly one of the worst officiated games I've seen. You usually see that in like baseball. The baseball umps, get destroyed yearly because, there was take over the game. I think people want to come and see them. But that was
literally
so odd. Yeah.
Joe West, we're talking about you.
Joe West. Yep. Joe West, classic. Yeah, but even after. Saw on Twitter after the game that they actually doubled down on what they saw, and they actually fined them for it too. And so I was in shock. I don't know, still don't understand what the penalty was for. Usually they go after the game and then they like correct themselves, but apparently you can't stare anymore at the NFL. You can't look in the general direction of the other team or else it's a penalty. So, the hip check thing, I don't know. I genuinely have no idea what was going on there. I thought it was ridiculous. It obviously looked like he threw it for the hip check that he first made contact with. So I don't know. It was annoying as a Bears fan, especially at the end when I thought that he doinked the kick, but it wasn't a doink. It was 10 yards. Yeah.
I've never been so happy in my life to see a short kick.
Yeah, literally. I thought it was a doink, but I mean, he missed it, but still. But yeah, I didn't really understand what was happening in that situation there.
Agreed. So did you just say Marsh got fined that taunting penalty?
They actually went back, I believe, and looked at the play over, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, we agree," and then let's fine him on top of it. So they fined him on top of it, on top of the penalty that they called. Telling you, Mark Tomlin was in there checkbook or something, because
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I don't understand how you get that messed up so much, especially in like the fourth quarter too, or like the closing end of the game. You're really gonna call that? The game's getting close. They just got a touchdown. You're gonna call that? Just crazy.
I don't understand how you can fine someone for staring in a sport that you are literally supposed to throw someone onto the ground in. Like, staring is where we draw the line. Staring, not going. Ooh, Matt Stafford touchdown pass. And the touchdown was a pick six, so that might be a wrap. Like, because my defense. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking about my fantasy team, guys. That's later. I did not know he got fined, and Marsh was a practice squad player, meaning he's not making millions and millions. So that fine might have actually kind of hurt a little bit.
Taunting.
So dumb.
Taunting calls are so. It's like the taunting you would think would be like in like high school. Stop the fighting. We don't want to be mean. Let's have a code of like regulations where you can't look at the other player. Like in the NFL, where no one's crying because no one's losing any sleep because them on the sideline. Like, oh wow, such a threat to our game.
Yeah.
And then you give them 15 yards. The taunting, I just feel stupid and was never a problem in the first place. So I don't know who made the rules here, and I really don't understand the premise of taunting calls anyway, especially in the NFL. Again, grown men playing football. I think there's suffered much more tough things than getting stared at by a guy in a sack. Like, come on now.
It's like, and I know a lot of people making this joke lately, like, oh, there's guys like suffering from CTE and stuff, not to get controversial, but the data's out there, of blunt force trauma to the head, pretty much.
Yeah.
And the NFL is out over here going, let's enforce the taunting penalty, but like times 10.
Yes.
The untucked jersey thing, you see CeeDee Lamb is like consistently getting fined the price of a decent car for the short sock, like 15,000 here, 15,000 there. I'm like, these are the battles you're fighting?
Yeah,
these ones right here.
I saw that too. It was like the untucked. I really don't understand. You don't even notice this stuff. Like the fans, the people who you're trying to like shape your product to, don't notice this stuff. I don't care if you're wearing shirt socks. I don't care if your jersey untucked. Who cares? I don't know if you're trying to keep like an image, or like a like well kept or something. Like I don't know. Maybe it's for other reasons or injury or something. So I don't know. I don't really get it. But I saw that he's getting fined a lot for that.
If it has anything to do with the image of the game, like Chris, I know you've watched a lot of football. I've never watched football with someone and heard anybody go, tuck that jersey in, bro. Like, that's not a problem, bro. That's not a problem. Man, it's not a known issue.
It annoys me so much when their socks are short. Like what?
Like our ratings are down 2% for the day, and CD's jersey was untucked once again. I know it has to be done. Also, stop staring at him. Like, these are the priorities Roger Goodell puts in place.
Roger Goodell, NFL. And it was bad, when he fined Tom Brady the Deflategate. I still don't see.
That was it. That was the confirmation right there.
I'm still lost at that. Like, oh yeah, the deflated football is the reason that the Patriots won by like 40. But yeah, let's find them. Let's suspend them. Actually, yeah, we're good.
That's not like the game was out of hand completely, and the run game was absolutely killing them too. But
yeah,
the person who's won 6 rings won that game against an inexperienced Andrew Luck at the time because of a deflated football. Yeah, we're gonna rant about this forever. Me and Chris just love the governmental bodies that are in the NFL so much that we're not going to talk about them anymore. The next thing we're going to talk about is our drag and drop segment. Drag being someone that you either drag onto your roster and let them sit on the bench a little bit, or just drag over to the bench but don't drop yet. Drop, pretty self-explanatory. You just drop the player. So we'll do drag for you, drag me, drop you, drop me. So who is your drag player right now?
So this week, I actually picked a tight end. I know tight ends are hard to come by, especially now. We have Kittle, Kelsey. Always been struggling, so I don't even know about him really. Yeah, he's been iffy this year. And so I actually picked a guy from Minnesota, Tyler Conklin, who actually had 2 touchdowns yesterday. He's only owned in 39% of the league, so he probably is available in your league. He's getting the third. He's third number in targets behind, of course, Jefferson and Thielen. But he's a solid red zone target. He's not going to get you like incredible yards that you get from Kittle and Waller and Kelsey, but he's again a red zone target, and tight ends really let's see the elite three. Not really gonna get that like high yardage from them, from my experience at least. And so if you can get like touchdowns, and say you can get like a touchdown or two a game, maybe 30 yards, that's a solid like 8 or 10 points around there. And he's just looking good. Again, he's third in receptions and third in yards actually too, and he's available in a lot of leagues. So if you're needy in the tight end position, then I'd give him a chance, because right now there aren't that many good ones out there. So I shoot a shot with Tyler Conklin right now, especially after yesterday's game. I did this before the game yesterday where they beat the Chargers, I believe, and he had 2 touchdowns. And Kirk didn't. I think Kirk only threw 2 touchdowns that game too, and big red zone target. So I think he's a solid pick. He's averaging around 5 receptions a game, so he's getting the receptions too behind those 2 elite receivers. So he can be kind of a diversion from them too. And brother D-backs are focused so much on him, on Jefferson and Thielen, he gets open for touchdowns. So I go with him for right now.
He's at 39%. That's like really low. And even if it's rising a little bit with his draft stock, not everyone's going to, go after him, or not draft stock, but I guess fantasy stock. I like that a lot. I mean, especially with this Vikings team that loves to use tight ends, in the Mike Zimmer era that he's been there for a few years now, or more than a few years, it seems like they love to use tight ends. They've used Kyle Rudolph so much when he was there. And even with Kirk Cousins too. Kirk Cousins used Rudolph as such a big red zone target where he'd have those games where he's not going to blow anybody out of the water with yardage. He'll get 30, 40, 50 yards. If he gets 1 or 2 touchdowns, that's a 12, 13, 18, 19 point game right there. And that from a tight end is phenomenal. If you can get a few of those, you don't get them. If you're in a PPR league and you get 4 receptions for 40 yards, you can get by with 8 points. And I think that Conklin's turning into that new answer. Not calling him Kyle Rudolph yet, but he's kind of getting used like him in that the majority of the attention that's being paid to him is happening in the red zone, because he can just box a guy out, not get called for pass interference. He's not handsy. A lot of tight ends and just receivers in general in the red zone, they get handsy, especially when they get in the end zone. They'll try and push somebody off. They extend the arm. They see the hand swipe over, and that's going to get called. Conklin just kind of uses his shoulders to box people out, and he's got the little box right here to catch it in his chest, and it works. And Kirk's a very accurate passer, among many other things. He can't put the ball in the money, especially on those comeback routes that they've been sending Conklin out in. So I like that a lot. Guy that I'm going to go with, do not start him yet. This is why it's called drag and drop. I am not telling you to start Agnew. I just gave it up. Jamal Agnew from the Jacksonville Jaguars. At the time that I was typing this, I'm sure it's risen. An 8% ownership rate, and I think it's risen up to 12 at the time of this recording. It'll probably rise again by the time that this comes out. But the time he was owned 8% of the time, he has had double digits in 4 out of his last 6 weeks. For those of you who don't know who Jamal Agnew is on the Jaguars, he returned a huge missed field goal. Returned a missed field goal for like 100 and something yards, all the way to the house. Now he's getting used on jet sweeps, end arounds. He's lining up as a wide receiver. He's lining up out of the backfield. For those of you who remember Tavon Austin, this is basically the equivalent of Tavon Austin right now with his speed, his versatility, and the fact that he's being used in multiple roles. The reason I don't want you to start him yet is because he's like Tavon Austin. Extremely streaky. He could go off for 40 one week and then get like 2 or 3 the next week, because the Jaguars are, 1, a bad team, and 2, they're experimenting a lot because they're a bad team. So I would say in general, just pick him up and watch, because if he does end up stringing a couple more good weeks together, especially as you're getting down close to the playoffs in your fantasy weeks, use him. Put him in a flex spot. I believe he's listed as a wide receiver, but he may be a hybrid depending on what league you're in. He may be listed as a hybrid like Cordero Patterson. Like I'm in a sleeper league, and they use Cordero as a wide receiver / running back. So he's basically a flex, but you can put him in either concrete position. So I put Agnew in. He's been really streaky, but 4 out of the last 6 weeks getting in double digits, that's sounding a little better than Tavon Austin in terms of consistency. So I'd give him a shot. He's probably open right now.
Yeah, he has that, as you said, the Cordero Patterson effect. I have Cordero Patterson in one of my leagues, even when you don't have like a great reception day, which a lot of receivers sometimes struggle with, you'll get that run game too, and then multi-factor as well. And it seems like he can take over the top spot of Marvin Jones. I thought Marvin Jones was going to be great receiver too, especially with Chark going down. But you have that receiver running back too. So yeah, only 9%. That's actually like a really good sleeper right there.
I saw it and I was like, it's got to be higher than that, and it's probably rising right now, like as we're talking about it. But he's probably available in all your leagues. So go with him, I would say. So then Chris, who would your drop be? Oh, I agree with this one a lot.
Yeah.
I almost put it in there myself. Yeah, who's your drop?
Yeah, so when my drop is, I think everyone is getting the memo already. If you had him, you're already seeing this right now. After Derrick Henry got injured, everyone was jumping to the waiver wire to pick up Jeremy McNichols, who was projected to be not as solid as Derrick Henry, but a good replacement. Because they focus so much on the run. Derrick Henry is running like 25 times a game. They're such a run-heavy team, and they depend on it so much that I wouldn't blame you if you went out and got McNichols or Peterson. He just hasn't seen the attempts and seen the touches that you think that a second-string running back will get, and they actually ran it more with Deontay Foreman rather than him, who I believe had 89, 79 yards around there. He's actually third in attempts. Was in third of attempts last game against the Saints, who they played yesterday. He was behind Foreman, I believe Peterson. He's just not getting the touches. Even the week after Derrick Henry got injured, he wasn't getting the touches. He had 4 attempts for 7 yards, which just isn't going to get it done. And unfortunately, it could have been the situation beforehand was a great situation for you. At least you thought it was. Had run every team, and you have this guy who's mostly unheard of, who you think was going to step into the role. But it seems like they've changed their offense. It seems like Tannehill has been throwing the ball more, getting other people more involved, and it seems like they shied away from the run a little bit, less than they used to. They seem to be doing pretty well so far. So I drop him right away. It doesn't look like he's going to get any more usage than he is right now. He's running low usage right now, and it doesn't. I just don't see him bouncing back from this, or bouncing back at all. He never really started off great, and his numbers didn't really improve from when Derrick Henry was in the game either. So I'd shy away from him. Unfortunately, he was a good pick up if you picked him up, but I go find someone else right now. Unfortunately, because he's just not looking good for him right now.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that for sure, and I actually grabbed him and used him in a trade for Nick Chubb.
Yep.
I put him with Antonio Gibson, who actually went off. So, Tyler, you're getting your value this week.
Oh, yeah, Tyler,
I got
man.
Nick Chubb, and he doesn't think it's aging well right now. But Chubb, despite missing like 3 games this year, is third in the league in rushing. Just going to place that out there. Enough of that aside, though, I agree. McNichols looked like he was going to be a really big factor in this team's offense. It's a small sample size nonetheless, but you can't really wait people out who you don't know about in a league where your playoffs are probably coming up in the next 3 or 4 weeks. It's like week 14, week 15 is usually when it comes around, depending on your league size, maybe a little bit sooner if it's bigger. But Jeremy McNichols was like the perfect scenario for him. He's behind one of the best running backs in the league to learn from. Obviously, he's not nearly as big as Derrick Henry, as no one else is. It's a run-heavy offense. He's supposed to just get plugged right in. And then they get Adrian Peterson. And when I saw that, I'm like, okay. I mean, AP is like a security back. Oh, they used him more in the first game. And they used him like within the 5-yard line, and they actually got him a touchdown. So Adrian Peterson, to my knowledge, has more fantasy points in the last 2 weeks than Jeremy McNichols. And I'm not going to tell you to pick him up either. Even though he's a legend, you can't rely on that run game. They've completely converted to the pass. AJ Brown has been having great days. The rest of that wide receiving core has been having great days. Ryan Tannehill is looking like he was supposed to coming into this season. He had a slow start. Vrabel's doing something that I did not expect. I don't think anybody else has expected. They just completely converted to the pass, and now they use the run on like 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 1, goal-to-go situations. Otherwise, they're a passing team now, all of a sudden. And they use Tannehill out of the read option, too. He actually runs a little bit, which people forget. He's kind of fast, so.
Wow.
Weird. Yeah, weird offensive scheme change. I thought for sure they'd just stick to the run, use McNichols. McNichols is a good screen pass catcher, too. When you get him out in the open field, he's slippery. He's pretty quick, but they're not using him at all. And they keep stuffing him up the middle. They do what the Bears used to do with Tyreek Cohen. They're like, 5'6", 175, HB dive. Like, no.
After I saw Adrian Peterson score 2 weeks ago, I was like, yeah. You let the 35, you let the
like
37-year-old the ball before you. Yeah, you got to go.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Debo got a rushing touch. I'm putting my phone away.
They scored again?
Yeah, they ran it to him. It's 21-7. So my Rams, Ty, if you're hearing this, I might be wrong. So nonetheless, a drop is going to be. I was trying to call an audible on this, but I'm going to stick with it.
no.
49ers defense, despite the fact they have a defensive touchdown, they also have 2 picks so far. And an MVP candidate. I'm going to say drop them because they have been allowing, I think this game is an anomaly. They have been allowing a lot of points. Bears offense is arguably the worst. I'll put the Jets in front of them. Arguably the worst offense in the league. The 49ers got in a shootout with them. Their secondary is shallow. Obviously, they have Josh Norman, who, in my opinion, is very washed. He can still get in an opposing team's head here or there, whoever he's matching up on. He's super handsy. He gets called for more PIs than almost anybody I've seen, but he does lead the league in forced fumbles, so I have to give him that. Or at least he did going into this week. I'm not sure if anything changed yet. Stats update, I'll know that. I'm going to say drop the 49ers defense because up until today, they weren't forcing a whole lot of turnovers. They did have a decent amount of sacks a game. I believe it was 2 right on the dot. But defenses, look, usually a team will not hold more than one of them, especially after a bye has passed. You can probably go out and get somebody better, to be honest. Don't drop them until you find someone better. That's like fantasy etiquette 101 right there. But I do think there are better options out there than the 49ers, despite the fact they're having a weird game today. May I defend myself by saying the NFL is so weird as of late. So many upsets have been happening. The Jags walloped, or they didn't wallop. They beat the Bills 9-6 like a couple of weeks ago. Like, nothing makes sense. That's just one of many. The Jets, 2 wins on the year against the Bengals and the Titans. So take a lot of what we're saying with a grain of salt because I feel like a lot of these dominant NFL teams are taking teams like the Jets and the Panthers, who beat the Cardinals this week, for granted. Nonetheless, I think the 49ers defense has been struggling over a longer sample size than just today as of late, and you can go after teams that get more turnovers. Sacks only give you 1 point at a time, but if you get a pair of sacks and you allow 30-plus points, you just broke even and got 0. There are teams that consistently get more sacks, that will force more turnovers, and that won't allow like 20, 30 points a game. 49ers defense is just hurt. Their secondary is pretty shallow behind Norman, so I would say there's better options out there.
Yeah. Even like 5 years ago, or like in fantasy, there used to be like the 3 like or like 5 like defenses that you wanted that like every week you could play, and then like they give you like solid numbers. But I feel like, I don't know, maybe because the NFL scores so many more points now that I really couldn't like name a defense that you would want to keep like the whole season. I mean, there are some, but there's not some that are going to like consistently get you high numbers because teams score so many points now. You know, you might get like I'm starting the Rams defense right now. You know, supposed to be elite, but they're getting carved up by Garoppolo's 8 for 8 right now. So, you know, I agree with you. You never know. You know, and I think you're just better rotating, as you said. Like, you know, if you hit the Lions, go pick them up, and then like drop them, pick up the guy's Lions again. You know, pick them up again, get the Lions. You know, because it used to be like the 49ers or the Bears defense, even, you know, getting like you solid like 10 points. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just like can't think of them right now. But I just can't really think of a top defense that you like really roll with the whole season. I mean, even or if you want to win, roll with them the whole season.
Yeah, like even the Rams, I would think with who they have on paper, that'd be the answer. But they've been lit up a couple. Excuse me, they've been lit up a couple times. The Cardinals have all these big names. They've been lit up a couple times, including this week against Cam Newton, the resurgence, I guess. Back, like it just doesn't make sense. So yeah, I would not be against cycling defenses in and out of your team. That's just go against the Lions, go against the Falcons, who put up a full 3 points against the Cowboys. Do something like that. That's probably the safe bet. All right, so we're gonna keep on moving here. Next topic. Oh, this episode's just not aging well with today's game. So I have Matt Stafford for my MVP 10 weeks in, and I might change it to either Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady because, Stafford's got 2 picks in the game right now, but he does have like 23 touchdowns and 6 interceptions coming into the game. Finally got weapons around him. It's the perfect storm. You've got a guy who's really hungry for playoff competition. He played 2 playoff games to my knowledge and didn't win either of them with the Vikings. Like a decade there. Over a decade. Going on to a team that has Cooper Kupp. Robert Woods is now hurt. So they have Jefferson being brought up to the 2 and OBJ at the 3. At this moment, they're kind of swapping those 2 in the depth chart. OBJ might be the 2 already at the time of this game. I just think it's the perfect storm. Darrell Henderson is actually a very serviceable running back who's been able to take over realms of a dominant guy out of that backfield. They haven't had to cycle through Sony Michel too much. He's filling in for Cam Akers just fine. I had Matt Stafford coming into this. I'll let you make your case. That's probably looking a lot stronger. Although, you know what? I'm not going to spoil
About this week,
but
I don't know about this week.
I don't know about this week.
Yeah, so I wanted to pick a running back, but like Derrick Henry and Taylor between those two. But the NFL MVP award has become basically like a quarterback award. I think there's been a few like running backs winning last year, but usually
he's done it.
AP, yeah. But usually usually it's gonna be a quarterback every year. So I actually picked Tom Brady right now, who actually struggled yesterday. I know because of my fantasy, he had 2 picks. He almost had a third one, which would have been crazy, but he got called back, and they lost to the Washington football team. But other than last night, where he came back and had a right game with his 2 picks. He has 2,870 yards this season, which surprisingly is second to Mahomes. We've all been talking about how Mahomes is having a terrible season, but he still leads the NFL in yards. He had a casual 400-yard, 5-touchdown game yesterday.
He's up there in touchdowns too.
Touchdowns too, yeah. He's having a bad season. It's crazy, but he has 27 touchdowns, I believe 7 interceptions. His team, he started off the season really well. They've been in the kind of down spurt right now. They've been losing a couple of games and struggling a little bit. But right now, I think that he's shown the best out of the quarterbacks. I thought Stafford was like the clear favorite until like a few weeks ago. He struggled against, I can't remember what team he struggled against, and he's struggling today.
Horrible.
Yeah, the Titans, Titans is horrible. So I was originally going with Stafford. I think he was a clear choice, but right now I think that Stafford and Tom Brady, maybe even Rodgers, are like fighting for a spot. I don't know if Rodgers, he missed last week, maybe not him anymore. But I think right now Brady, I think even the voters are going to account, which you probably shouldn't, but I think account for his age as well. He's like 45, so doing this stuff, throwing 27 touchdowns, averaging like 5 touchdowns a game, kind of like thing. 106 passer rating. Right now, I think it's going to be the GOAT, Tom Brady. I think he'll bounce back after, you lose to the Washington football team. You kind of have to bounce back. And so I think he'll bounce back next week and W, go back to his usual self, maybe 4 touchdown self. Hopefully they'll have AB back, and maybe Gronk will return too, so he gets those targets back. And so right now, I think he's a little bit ahead. I would say right now Tom Brady is the favorite for right now, or I think so at least.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Like at this very moment in time, unless Stafford just has the second half of his life, like I'll give it to Tom Brady, 44, 45 years old, whatever that man is, doing what he does. I mean, we saw Brett Favre, for example, one of the greats as well. Not even that old. I think he was 41 or 42 when he retired. Putting up decent numbers. Like he was middle of the pack. Tom Brady's like in the top 5 in so many categories right now.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Like he's playing better than most people will ever play in their career. He's doing it at an age that most people are retired for 5 years by. It's just ridiculous, or more. Yeah. It's absolutely crazy. So yeah, that's a really good argument. I can't even fight that. We're going to switch over to basketball real quick. It's just going to be football and basketball for a bit, to be honest. And we'll start cycling Ryan into these episodes as we talk more about basketball. Baseball's done. The Astros lost. We already talked about that. But
I don't think we ever said anything about that.
That's true. I think I briefly acknowledged it.
Maybe we did.
But congratulations to Atlanta on not blowing a lead
in
the championship.
I don't think you guys understand how happy me and Cory are. But especially me, because they beat the White Sox, and I was really annoyed by that. We got gentlemen swept. No, we didn't. We won in the middle, but still.
Yeah.
3-1, 4-1, whatever it was. We got destroyed, but Astros are championship list this year, just like us. So I feel good about myself.
No, I just want to see the Astros. I mean, the integrity of the freaking game was violated, but nonetheless, now they still don't have a real ring.
Yeah.
I'll say that. So, real quick with basketball, we're going to talk about the Warriors, just kind of what they've done so far. Me and Chris experienced, not firsthand, but watching it, on the computer. They kind of took the Bulls and did whatever they wanted with them, and they're 11-2 right now. Steph Curry, not so much carrying, although he did have to carry in the Bulls game, getting some help from Andrew Wiggins, who's putting up a clean 18 to 20 a game. Jordan Poole puts up about 17 a game at the time of this game. They don't have Wiseman either. Draymond's doing his thing, making a lot of very crucial blocks, one of the better down low defenders in the block. Are the Warriors back, Chris? They're 11-2, and they don't even have Klay Thompson, arguably the best shooting guard in the game when healthy.
Yeah. So, I remember, I think it was like last week or 2 weeks ago. I think I was on here and I said like their schedule wasn't hard or something like that. And
Yeah.
they played no good teams. And then they played the Bulls and blew them out by like 30. So, I kind of have to say yes. They maybe eat my words. I kind of have to say yes. They just look good. Even last night against Charlotte was a close game. Curry couldn't hit a three in their fourth quarter. I don't know what was going on. But, eventually you're going to lose one. But, they look solid. Jordan Poole stepping up. He was stepping up even last year. He's looked even better than last year. The surprise, Andrew Wiggins, I didn't think that he would, as you said, averaging around 18, 20 points. He had a great game yesterday against Charlotte in a loss, but still. And then you said Wiseman, someone who's very, very, very slept on, the first round pick. Was been injured the whole season, who still is yet to come back too, and obviously the clear and obvious person, Klay Thompson, who I heard might be coming back for Christmas, maybe. Don't quote me on that, but believe he might be coming Christmas. And so if you're doing 11-2 right now, and you're missing those pieces, but you have other players like Jordan Poole, Wiggins stepping up for you, I think you could make a solid playoff run. To be honest with you, I don't know. I think they might even finish first. If not first, maybe second or third, or at least top three there. I just don't see them getting any worse. They still have two great players that need to come back. I didn't like them destroying my team, but they played. Yeah. They shut all the haters up, playing the Bulls, who are a solid team, who were on a roll, who had wins behind them, and they it came to Golden State, or was it in Chicago? Was it in Chicago, Golden State? I believe it was in Golden State.
Ooh. I think they went to Golden State. Yeah, they didn't do that to us.
That was in Golden State.
Not that it would have mattered, but
yeah, exactly. But Curry's having an MVP season, top two, top three at least. He had a 40-8 or something crazy like that. He just continues to put up crazy numbers. Probably one of the greatest shooters of all time, if not the greatest shooter of all time. He's having another great season, and so yeah, I think I have to eat my words and say the Warriors are for real, and the Warriors are back. Top three team, I'd say, for right now at least.
I got to agree with you. I was going to say that they're going to do okay for the year. I'm like, yeah, I mean, they'll have Klay back, so then they'll be a really good team. Maybe they'll top out at like the third or fourth seed. I was not expecting 11-2. And then within that, they whooped the Bulls, who have beaten legitimate teams. They've beaten the Clippers now. They've beaten the Jazz. They've beaten the Celtics, but they've also beaten... who else have they beaten?
Charlotte.
Oh, they've beaten the Nets. They've beaten the Nets,
yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, they beat a legitimate team in the Bulls who have seen a lot of talent so far. They beat them by a lot. Like, they had to do it on Curry's back, but they did it nonetheless. I have to say they're back too. I wasn't expecting this. I want to see Kuminga. Is that how do you pronounce his last name?
I think it is Kuminga.
Kuminga. Yeah, I want to see him get some more minutes right now, because honestly, it's not that the games don't matter, but I'd rather them experiment now more than later when they have to cycle Klay in anyway. Because when he gets minutes, that's one of the harder players I've seen so far. Very aggressive inside. He has a poster alert on pretty much any big in the paint at all. I'm yet to see him really get denied. I want to see him get exposed some more, but I'd say the Warriors are back too. They look really fast. They're embracing small ball again. It'll be interesting to see what happens when they get Wiseman back, but I believe they have JaVale McGee right now, so they're kind of working with that. But nonetheless,
Gary Payton too.
Me. Yeah, oh my gosh, Gary Payton's out here posterizing people, blocking people.
Defensive, and they're great defensively too. I think they're one of the top defensive teams in the NBA right now too. That's scary as well. You're the greatest shooter of all time, and you're like top defensive too. So that's a little scary right there.
Yeah, we're not used to seeing them be a lockdown team other than maybe Draymond down low. I mean, who did they have when they went on the run? I think it was Andrew Bogut, not exactly defensive player of the year caliber, a very immobile five. Now you have a backcourt and possibly a front court, now that Wiseman will be coming back soon, that can defend along with Draymond Green. They're scary. I'm not going to say 73-9 scary, but they can get in the 50s, like mid to high 50s.
Yeah.
All right, so we got two more NBA topics here. We're going to talk about an underperforming team. So I'll go first with this one. I've got the Celtics. The Celtics look very out of whack, to be honest with you. When they played the Bulls had to come back from a big lead that should have never been relinquished. Jason Tatum all of a sudden has tunnel vision. It's him and Jaylen Brown, and Marcus Smart audibly said this. He said, look, I am out there too. They have to understand there's a third option out there. It's the Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum show. Things were going okay with Kemba there. They let him fly. You got Schroeder right now, who's actually playing way above his value because he was going to sign with everyone after he bet on himself there. The Celtics just don't look like they're playing to their talent. Raw talent's not the issue at all, but they're going to have some locker room issues with Marcus Smart, a guy you do not want to make mad, gets in a few scuffles here and there, but also flops a ton. Is upset now, basically, with the fact he's not getting the ball. He wants to be included in that scoring backcourt or front court. He kind of sits at the 3-4 spot. So I think in general that Tatum and Brown are just kind of locking this team up right now. They're not allowing them to spread the ball around as much as they could be. As a result, sure, maybe they'll make the play-in game, but I don't know anything beyond that. I don't think they can accomplish anything beyond that.
They already had their yearly player-only meeting. You're not supposed to have that 5 games into the season. They're already fighting already. Tatum and Brown shoot like 50% of the shots. Oh. Even I was watching the Cavaliers game yesterday. Not yesterday. It was like 2 days ago. And you're right. Tunnel vision. The man does not know how to pass the ball, push the A button. I know Tatum's elite scorer, and all that. And even with Brown is out, I guess he's got to step up too. But, you got to get other people involved. And then you got to pass the ball, get other people not cold, because when you're struggling and then you're not giving the ball to anyone else, then no one else is going to be able to get shots as well. And so, yeah, even, I don't know, Celtics should be a lot, ever since 2018 when they lost to LeBron, or was it 2019, around there? Yeah. It's just been a downward trend, unfortunately, for them. They have so much talent, but, nothing to show for it, really. I know LeBron was destroying the East, but even after he left, went to the Lakers, they were struggling, couldn't get past good teams, and they're fighting internally 5 games into the season. So it's not looking good for Celtics fans. Sorry, you guys, man.
Yeah, it's weird because not even 2 years ago, like in the bubble, I remember them just absolutely wiping the floor with the 76ers, were, internally exploding at that point in the first round. And it looked like the Celtics were going to go deep, ended up losing. But this is a team that was supposed to be at the top of the East. Then LeBron leaves. When LeBron left, I'm like, that's it. It's theirs. It's theirs or the Bucks. Some other things happened, and obviously the Hawks rose up, shocked everybody that year. The Celtics are just not even bottoming out, but just stuck in limbo right now because you can't say they're rebuilding either. They're not going to get a good draft pick with the record they have. They're going to be a 40-something win team, and Eastern Conference is getting better. That might not do it. So, yeah, that's my team, but who do you have for an underperforming team?
I have the team that actually, I believe, overperformed last year, or maybe not overperformed, but surprised people. The Atlanta Hawks, who, as of yesterday or today, were 13th in the East. And I believe they were 4th or 5th last year. They just struggled. Their defense is pretty bad right now. Trae Young has struggled a bit with his shooting, and he's putting up decent numbers, but his shooting hasn't been that great. He had a great game yesterday, almost a triple-double, and they beat the Bucks. But he struggled this year. As again, the defense is terrible. But actually, I was looking at their schedule and the teams they lost to. I'm just going to read you off the teams they lost to. They lost to the Nets, the Jazz, the Suns, the Warriors, the Jazz again, the Nuggets, the Wizards, the Sixers, and the Cavs. And so literally all those teams are top teams. I can dismiss
every single one of those. Yeah.
Yeah. Even the Cavs right now are 9-5. Are top teams in the NBA. The Wizards first place. And so they've had a rough schedule of games, I'll say. So maybe you can cut them a little bit of slack. They've had a tough time. They just played the champions yesterday and they won. So that's a good start. But they've had a tough time in their scheduling right now. When you play the Jazz and the Nets and the Warriors and the Suns all in the span of like a straight 6 games, you might struggle a bit. But I think I think right now, rather disappointing right now. I think they're bound for a bounce back. There are some teams up in the East right now who I don't believe are going to be in the top 8 when we get to the end of the season. Like the Cavs. I think the Wizards might. Right. Yeah, it doesn't seem right. 9-5. I don't know about that. But they lost. They just lost right now to the Celtics, so that's a step. But I think they'll jump up, kick some teams out, kick some teams to the bottom, wake back up, and maybe as their schedule gets easier and as other teams' schedules get harder, then they'll probably win back up there because they're a solid team. John Collins, DeAndre Hunter's look great. Cam Reddish is evolving as a player as well, and so there's too talented to be 13th. So I think right now they're disappointing. Look for them to bounce back and jump back into the top 8 at least.
Yeah, I agree. Goodness, I did not know those were their losses.
Yeah, terrible.
It's the Eastern Conference finalist schedule, I guess.
I know they got that championship schedule you get in the NFL when you win the Super Bowl. The hardest teams. They put the Jazz twice in the span of 10 days. That's crazy right there.
Then you've got the Lakers out here playing, the Thunder and losing to them. I still can't not call them that. They've lost to them. Yeah, they lost to them. Russ got mad, got in a fight with whoever was, tossing up shots last couple of seconds in the game. It was already a blowout. They play them a couple nights later and lose again.
It's crazy because it looked like the Thunder were trying to lose. Even the first game, they turned the ball over they almost got a 5-second, and then kid you not, I think it was Giddey who threw on the ball. Literally threw it to the other to Westbrook or it was Carmelo, and then Carmelo just shoots the worst air ball I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, come on guys, they're giving it to you. They want that pick. They want the number 1 pick next year. And then
they don't want to win this stuff.
Yeah, they had 20-plus point leads, and then both 20-plus point leads. I like Shea. Shea's probably my second favorite player, but geez, you shouldn't be losing to Shea and the Thunder, who are. I think they were on a 5-game winning streak at one point this season, but you shouldn't be losing to them, especially twice. Those are 2 free wins, and y'all losing to the Thunder, 2 long 20-point leads. So yeah, I feel you on that.
Yeah, the NBA literally said, "Oh my gosh, bro, LeBron did not make it past the first round. Here you go." And they threw it right back at him and kept the receipt, bro. They came in and returned it. How do you lose 2 games to the? Oh yeah, but no, I don't blame you for kind of taking what you said, not back, but giving them a little slack in the Atlanta Hawks, because every single team that you just mentioned, minus the Cavs, will probably be in the playoffs at the end of the year. And who knows? The Cavs are 9-5. I did not see that coming at all.
One of the players that I was going to incorporate to the Cavs 9-5 record was Evan Mobley, who I think should be the rookie of the year right now. He's averaging 16 points per game, 8 rebounds, and 2 blocks. And so, and I was looking at the Cavs roster, nothing really has changed monumentally except for Markkanen, who's been out with COVID, and also and then the other one was Mobley. And he's just a solid player in the paint. He's also shooting the 3 ball in some games too. I believe he was 33%, and from a big man, that's actually really solid when you can space the floor as well as body down low. He's a great defensive player. The Cavs are doing amazing right now, 9-5, which no one predicted, because they didn't make that many changes, and realistically, I think they'll probably drop. Right now, he's just a solid player right now, a solid pick. I think everyone was looking at Cade Cunningham and Jalen Green to win it all, because they were the two stars. They had them on ESPN battling off against each other. But I think Evan Mobley, third pick, sorry.
No, you're good.
Solid, sleeping under the radar right now. He's had a great start of the season. I believe he had 28 or 26 maybe a few days ago. Just solid. Looks like he's gonna be a solid player in the future. So right now I'm going with Evan Mobley.
Yeah, I really like that pick. It's not my pick. I have somebody else, but I do want to say Jalen Green and Cade Cunningham. It's a small sample size. Yeah, they're fighting on ESPN. Jalen Green dunked over Cunningham and got in his face. They're both shooting in the 30s, the low 30s. Cade Cunningham is shooting 32%, and Jalen Green is shooting 35%. Sit down.
Yeah, no, stop it.
Work on your jump shot. Get out of his face.
You're getting all the shots in the world right now because you're on the worst 2 teams in the league.
Yeah, you're on the worst team. You better at least. Oh my gosh, yeah. Sit down. Go humble yourself. You have a lot of work to do. You just got drafted 1st and 2nd overall on the teams that were there for a reason. There were no big trades. Nonetheless, my guy is going to be Scotty Barnes. The Raptors are doing okay. They started out horribly. They've actually got on a bit of a roll as of late, 6-4 in the last 10 games. They're 7-7 right now, so not as shocking as the Cavs, who I do think Mobley has a lot to do with. Not Markkanen. But gosh, man, I have a vendetta against what that guy did on the Bulls. Just one of the softer bigs in the league. But, all power to him. Hope he does well. Scotty Barnes, though, he is scoring 16.2 a game right now, and he is one of the few rookies, along with Evan Mobley, I do have to give him credit, that's actually shooting efficiently. Most of them are in the 30s. low 40s. We see this a lot. We even saw it with LaMelo early on in the year. We saw it with not Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards throughout the year last year. He was shooting in the high 30s and then kind of flirted with 40%. Scottie Barnes shooting 52% from the field right now, though, and he's shooting 20% from three. So he's got something to work on there. Gets 8 boards, 3 assists, a steal, and almost a block a game. I was worried about Barnes because early on in the year, Pascal Siakam was out. I'm like, okay, he's kind of getting a spotlight right now. We'll see what happens when, he gets some company in the backcourt when Siakam comes back and joins the backcourt. It didn't matter. He has completely adapted. Those two are facilitating to one another. They're actually looking like a really good 1-2 punch right now. We see Anunoby is there as well. OG Anunoby is one of my favorite players this year. He's really starting to break out. Well, I am actually really impressed with what this team has been able to do with him and with how he's been able to kind of handle his environment. I wasn't sure how much he was going to do, but I actually saw him play the Bulls in the first couple of games of the year. He looks solid. He looks really confident. He drives with conviction. He has a nice jump shot. He's just got to work on kind of shooting outside of the perimeter, though.
Yeah, I mean, I even watched him the Bulls game when they played the Bulls, and he was solid. And even against like the Nets, he I think I saw a clip on Bleacher Report of him like locking up Durant or something like that at one play. Just like had him on clamps. So yeah, I watched for some reason a few Toronto games. I don't know why, and he's always like stood out to me as random, but I was like solid rookie. Yeah, I don't know what am I doing out here. Yeah, but especially against like the Bulls. I mean, I remember this play. He had to spin off. It was like Patrick Williams was guarding him. He spun off and like dunked it. And I was like, geez, okay, kid looking nice. Yeah, but yeah, he's solid. He's solid. He's solid right now. I think those two, Mobley and Barnes right now, are the clear favorites, especially with Green and Cunningham shooting like 30% right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing that play too. And Patrick Williams is no scrub. He was drafted for his defense. Like he was a sixth man in college, and we drafted him 4th overall. That got a lot of negative reactions from many people, me included at the time. But he is a phenomenal defender down low. And for Scottie Barnes to just spin around him and get a clear dunk, get enough momentum to actually be able to get up there and slam it on one of the better defenders in the league down low, in my opinion. I'm sure you'd agree. It's impressive. And that was in like his second, just the second game of his career. No big deal.
Yeah. Casual spin off on the second game of your career.
I feel like he hasn't had many moments. Like he's not going to be in high stakes games this year, in my opinion. I think that Toronto will kind of be in that play-in range. So maybe that will be a big game for him. He'll be able to be in a playoff atmosphere to play against one of the better teams in the league, to be honest with you, and perform against them in the Bulls, to lock up Kevin Durant in what was a matchup that not many were expecting to watch. They just figured Kevin Durant would rout him anytime they matched up, and he actually did really well and locked him up on a couple plays. I think he's going to be one of those guys that once they get more pieces around him in Obi and Anunoby and also obviously Siakam, and they get some more people down low, I think they could be fine. It could be on the lower end, but if the ball's in his hands late in the game, despite the fact that he's a rookie, I'm okay with it. He's a very efficient shooter, and he seems like the guy who's going to stand up in the moment.
Yeah, why not give them experience, give them experience with the ball? You're not going to win the championship this year, obviously, if you're Toronto. So test them out, and you keep building around them. They have a solid team. Fred VanVleet, they lost Lowry, but, they still have Fred VanVleet. They have, as you said, Pascal, and OG's looking great, too. And, might as well get Scottie Barnes some touches, too, and then just keep drafting, keep going into the lottery. If you're not going to keep winning, and then see what you can do.
Yeah, I mean, they lose Kawhi, they lose Kyle Lowry, they still have Siakam there. VanVleet has been there a bit. You have the potential to kind of rebuild as a play-in team and then just immediately recover after. I do think this Raptors team, because they're still very good, they're a defensively sound team. Nurse is still doing a heck of a job coaching this team. You can add another piece to Barnes, Anunoby, Siakam, VanVleet. You can get another piece down low. I could see them resurging right away and, maybe being a 4 or 5 seed and making some noise in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yep.
We'll see Drake get on the court more again. I don't know how that man didn't get kicked out. He's literally tapping on people's shoulders, man. Anybody else does that and he's out. They're out.
Hey, I haven't seen him in many games this year. Kind of fake fan, man.
For a reason. Yeah.
Man, when your squad's not winning, you're hiding in your house in Toronto. I know you there. What you doing?
Exactly. He wasn't there for those first round exits either. Anytime they played LeBron.
Hey, he got a ring. He got a ring. You're not showing up to games. You got a whole ring for this dude who didn't play a single minute, and he doesn't even show up to the games when they're bad. Like, come on now, Drake. I mean, you're probably doing some album or something. The album was mid. I'm just gonna say that right now.
Oh my gosh, yeah, certified lover.
The word was mid. You don't if you don't like that take, then I'll tell you because the album was mid. But what you what you doing? You're supposed to be at the games, man, supporting your team. Your team's rebuilding right now. Scotty Brown's is solid. Pascal just came back, I believe, like a few days ago. Come on, man, you gotta show up for your team. You got a ring. Come on.
Yeah, you're basically part of the team. So I mean, you should get fined if you don't show up to games.
Exactly, or give the ring back so I can sell it.
Or give the ring back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, we'll have to see where they end up, but hey, 7-7, not bad. Barnes shooting efficiently. I think it's gonna be a 2-horse race between him and Mobley, unless Cade Cunningham or Jalen Green just catches a jump shot because they can't make anything right now.
I mean, Cade did just come back off an ankle injury, so maybe he'll shaking the rust off, and then because he actually, I was just checking the stats today because I have my fantasy basketball team. He had 25, 8, and 8. He actually shot 10 for 20 today. Surprisingly, they lost, but yep. Let me see. Yep, 25, 8, and 8, 10 for 20, 5 for 11 from 3. Which he missed. I believe it was a stat. He missed like the first 23 or 15 threes of his career, and he finally made one. Yeah, it was brutal. I was like, yeah. I mean, he gets an experience, gets his feet under him, get better at least from the 3-point range at least. Man.
Even his first couple games, I'm looking here, he was 2 for 14 against the Bucks, 1 for 8. So there's definitely some progress to be made there.
There's shots available. You can tell that.
Yeah, no one else is going to take them. So you take your time, buddy. But I think that's all we got here. That's all me and Chris have. Some good NFL and NBA conversation. But nonetheless, thanks for coming on again, Chris.
Yes, thank you for having me again.
Check out the YouTube, subscribe there. We're continuing to grow together. We want to make sure all of you are involved as well. Leave some reviews on the podcast. We've been getting more and more. We're up to 13 or 14 right now. Leave a 5-star there. Let's try and get in the top 200 sports podcasts and show up on the Apple Podcast rankings. That would be really cool for all of us. And after that, we'll see what happens. But nonetheless, we'll see you next time right here on All Sports Now.
But you know that I'm still overthinking.